you have given me the opportunity to initiate the debate on the state of Indian economies. This indeed is a very relevant issue which agitates the entire country. When I am initiating this debate today, Honorable Deputy Chairman, I see that onion is causing tears once again. Not the peels of onion, but the price of onion.
Both will give tears.
I am told it is 75 to 80. This morning I received a very good message, which I think I must share with this House, Honorable Deputy Chairman. In India, we are today in a situation when the price of need, onion, the price of petrol, convenience, and the price of luxury, beer, all is the same. Rupees 75 to 80, onion, petrol, or beer. That is exactly the state of our economy. Therefore, I am beginning my observations about the state of inflation itself. Because inflation is central to economy for the poor people. In 2009, when Honorable Finance Minister's government came back to power, there was a repeated pious declaration of containing inflation in 100 days. Then the period became a little flexible. We were told 180 days, and thereafter the entire period declaration was stopped because the government of the day could not know how to control inflation. We have debated that issue so many times in both the houses. What is the position again today, sir? The consumer price index is 9.9 in June 2013, was 9.3 in May 2013. And when we come to the food economy, the cereal is 17.6, vegetable 14.6, eggs, meats and milk 12.7. Inflation adds to the cost, makes life difficult. Even people of middle class today are feeling the pinch of inflation. Let me ask a very straight question. Why your government is not able to stop price rise? Daily the agriculture minister claims that we have got abundance of crop. Everything is full. The food grain is rotting outside in open rain. If there is abundance, why there is price rise? Obviously, there is gross mismanagement of food economy in the country. I remember when Atal Bihari Vajpayee government came to power, led by him in the NDA, in 98, the inflation was 8.26%. When we demitted office in 2004, it was 2.83%. In spite of big drought, in spite of sanction post Pokhran II explosion, if the NDA could control the price for 6 years, why a government led by an economist Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, eminent economist, is not able to control the price? Now it is more than 5 years. Sir, we have the highest regard for the office of Prime Minister. We have the highest regard for Dr. Manmohan Singh as an economist. But economy grows only when the management of the country is led by the leader who wields authority. And one of the problems which India is facing in the last so many years, leading to the current situation, is that maybe the Prime Minister is in office, but not in authority. We have heard the issue of policy paralysis. We have heard the issue of not decision being taken. I'll come to that separately. Sir, we are told that Dr. Manmohan Singh took care of the economy in the year 1991. We all know that. He was the finance minister. I don't know why the real person who was behind Narasimha Rao's name is never taken. Maybe it is a sin to take the name of that man who was at the helms. Some faces in the Ministry of Finance have been quite well known. Dr. Manmohan Singh, Montek Singh, Mr. Chidambaram is Chidambaram, but he has been a part of that. An eminent leader once commented in great fun, but a lot is talked about the Sangh Parivar. We are proud of the Sangh Parivar. But there has been a Singh Parivar which has been working in the Ministry of Finance for a long time. And it is good that one of the eminent members, N.K. Singh, got disillusioned and is now sitting in the opposition, because he may have to raise a lot of questions himself. Sir, what is the problem with our economy today? Let me straight away go point by point. A good economy can never come unless there is a good politics. And what is the bridge between good economy and good politics? Good governance. If there is no good governance, economy suffers. And let me give 4 very specific instances. Regardless of the debate on FDI, there is one issue on which there is no debate. There must be infrastructure development. Now kindly see the position. 68% of India's power need is thermal based. We have got enough coal. What happened? There came about coal scam, allotment, Supreme Court intervention, national outcry. Everything now is in limbo. Though the NDA government came with a new law, far-reaching, this 2003 Electricity Act, whereunder generation of power was delicensed. We demitted office. Today, the power situation is very critical. See the point number 2. Roads and national highway. No dispute. There must be roads, there must be national highway. We are very proud that under NDA regime, we did so much. Good. You ought to have carried on. We made 11 kilometer to 15 kilometer. Their loud declaration, you were there in chair from there, we will make it 20 kilometer every day. Good luck. Today it is reduced to 2 to 3 kilometers. There is corruption in the National Highway Authority. There is problem of contractors, their bills not being cleared, everything in limbo. Third issue, real estate. Again a great sector of promise and growth. Steel to cement to labor to everything. What happened? Land use became a problem. Arbitrary decision became a problem. Abuse of authority became a problem. Crony capitalism became a problem. Some persons who were politically protected were sought to be given all the help because of abuse of authority, and it has a cascading effect that today the real estate sector has also come into serious trouble. The fourth, telecommunication. We did extraordinarily well. We are very proud of that Mr. Bajpayee said that the price of telephone must come down, mobile phone must come down. Along with Jaitley present here, I had the privilege to be a member of the group of ministers. We completely eased the whole sector. What happened? There happened 2G, problem in licensing, corruption, crony capitalism, Supreme Court intervention. Today, the telecom sector has also come under serious cloud. Therefore, good politics is important for good economics. And the bridge is good governance. Because good governance became a casualty in the area of 2G, in telecommunication, in road construction, in coal allocations, in real estate, you have seen these big sectors of growth have come under serious cloud. So today I would like to raise an important question. Today India's growth is under serious cloud. It may even go down to 5%. Why is it that when Indians are not investing in India, when serious questions are being raised about the nature of growth which the UPA Congress-led has ushered in, at the same time, there are state governments after state government, mostly led by BJP, which are posting 10% plus growth rate. Be it Gujarat, be it Chhattisgarh, be it Madhya Pradesh, be it Goa. There can be other states as well. I have no quarrel with that. But this is very important, that when there is so much of uncertainty, ambiguity, lack of trust, lack of credibility, as far as management of Government of India's economy is concerned, states after states are growing. The difference is one. There is palpable good governance. There, decisions are transparent, quick. There is facilitation. Here, there is lack of good governance, problem everywhere. And that is the real reason for this critical state of our economy. Yes, my friends from the ruling party blames everyone, blames the CAG. Now they start blaming the Supreme Court. We are the constant whipping boys. The media is always attacked of creating an atmosphere of gloom. But I would have really appreciated if the government would have looked within as to whether the state of economy is because of them. And I regret to say that the state of Indian economy, critical economy, is because of them, not because of other factors. And that inward introspection is never there. So let me come straight to questions. What is important for economy? A, there must be productive investment. Surely, investment must come for fuel growth. Number two, there must be adequate savings. People must learn to save. People must learn profit. They must save, which could be again invested. There must be fiscal prudence. Namely, inflation is in check. There is a stable currency and robust external factor. Most important, there is confidence among investors. The investors are willing to trust you. But here is a regime which facilitates. Here is a regime which gives us open support. Here is a regime where there is a transparency as far as policy and implementation is concerned. Confidence of banks. I will come to that a little separately. Now, whether it is transparent policy regime, whether it is productive investment, whether it is adequate savings, whether it is fiscal prudence, whether it is currency, robust, stable currency, on all these factors, Honorable the Finance Minister, I'm sorry to say, there is criminal mismanagement by your government. And I'll briefly touch all of them. Let me give you certain very straight statistics. When we demitted office, 2003-04, the growth rate of the GDP was 8.1%. In 12-13, it is 5.3%, surely going to go down. The gross fiscal deficit of the GDP was 4.5%. Today, it is 5.2%. It was 5.9% in 2011-12. I am giving all RBI figures. That's what I have collected. The current account deficit, the most vulnerable area, NDA regime left office on current account surplus plus 2.3%. Today, it is minus 4.5%. Therefore, an NDA government which left a current account surplus economy today has become a highly deficit minus 4.5 as far as current account deficit is concerned. External debt was $112.7 billion when we demitted office. Today it is $360 billion. Short-term external debt was $3.9 billion. Today it is $24.8 billion. Foreign exchange reserves as cover for imports, our government was 17 months. Today it is 7 months. This is the critical state of your economy. And what is the trade deficit, $billion? When we left office in 2003-04, it was minus $13.7 billion. Today, it is minus $188 billion. Sir, I would like to ask the Honorable Finance Minister. He has been a very experienced Finance Minister. He is there in office for the last so many years. What has happened is, Finance Ministry and Chidambaram has become almost together, synonymous. If it was Mr. Devegowda government, Mr. Chidambaram was there. If Mr. Gujarat's government, Chidambaram was there. When the dream team of Singh Parivar was there, of 91, Mr. Chidambaram was there, probably in Commerce Department, if I am not mistaken. Now, when the NDA comes, he is a fixture from 2004. Mr. Chidambaram, kindly ask a simple question to yourself and satisfy us. why you cannot measure up to the expectation which you could show even in 96, 97, the most critical state of coalition politics. There is something seriously missing. Maybe the government is not in a position to do anything, or maybe the left hand proposes something, the right hand disposes. Let me come to the issue of this sliding rupee, a matter of very, very serious concern. I hardly need to emphasize that it is a direct byproduct of the current account deficit and the way the economy has been managed. Now the RBI has tightened liquidity, it has its own problems for further development, making life difficult for private sector more. But in the Standing Committee of Finance, we had occasion to examine this situation of the state of economy. And at times, the Ministry of Finance, when it appears before the Standing Committee of Parliament, is constrained to speak the truth. We had asked this question, and there was a reply from the Ministry of Finance, Department of Economic Affairs, which is a part of the Standing Committee report on the state of the economy. We did last year. Likely reasons for rupee depreciation: the sharp decline in rupee, among others, indicated supply-demand imbalance in the domestic foreign exchange and market, as there has been slowdown in FII inflows. And then one point is important. Apart from the global factors, there are several domestic factors which have added to the weakening trend of the rupee, which include increasing current account deficit, high inflation, and declining capital inflow because of weak growth prospects. Therefore, even the Ministry of Finance was constrained to concede before the Standing Committee, Honorable the Finance Minister, that there is weak growth prospect. Why this weak growth prospect? I know FDI, foreign investment, has become an issue with this government. I'll come to that little separately. I have to address a lot on that. But I think a man of your sterling experience would know surely that FII is hot money. It comes and goes. FDI is stable money invested in infrastructure or investment in development or production. Now, hot money like FII comes quickly and goes quickly. They want to earn certain interest. They want to say good returns. And if they say growth prospect is not comfortable, they withdraw. Now what has happened is, once they realize that the story of India is over, there is lack of trust, there is lack of credibility, they started going back quickly and quickly. I was just going through a report, Honorable the Finance Minister. It is the very latest report, maybe 1 year earlier, June 2012. Ease of doing business rank. It is the World Bank report. How comfortable is to do business? India is ranked 132. Pakistan is much above us, rank 107. Sri Lanka ranks much above all of us, is 81. Why is it that investors, not only in India, even outside, are having a problem in having that trust in your ability and credibility to deliver? I come to that question again, Honorable the Finance Minister. If Indians are not willing to invest in India, why is it that foreigners will come here? Last year you announced FDI in retail. We had our problems, we had opposed. It was completely ignored. You have got the right in a parliament, I can never say that. But you have not been able to get even 25 naya paisa in FDI in retail. I would be happy to be proved wrong. But not even a single penny has come. And you are constrained to lift the two embargoes, namely 10 lakh plus urban centers and 30% local outsourcing. Even thereafter, people are not trusting. A couple of months ago, I had occasion to go to Mumbai to address an international investors conference. Mostly they invite all of you, but occasionally they invite Mr. Jaitley and me also. So it was my turn to address them in Mumbai. I asked them a very frank question. How are you taking India? And Honorable the Finance Minister, they said very frankly, we have closed the file. We are waiting for elections. It was a very honest answer. I must tell you, I am opposed to your politics. But as an Indian, I want my country to grow. That's what legacy India has left, where Arunji, myself and others had the privilege to work. And if this is the impression of India, it is a sad day for India. And that saddened me enormously. Now, I talked about productive investment. It needs three things. Quick clearance of all the requirements. Policy paralysis absence, no policy paralysis. And a transparent regime. How many projects have been locked up by the Environment Ministry? I'm all for environmental clearance. But is it important that you have to sit with the Prime Minister to request the Honorable Environment Minister to quicken the pace of approvals? If it is not required, reject it. If it is possible, do it. But no. I was just going through some of the statistics, and I was amazed to find there is an empowered group of ministers which is supposed to monitor delayed approval of schemes, the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. And the report of last year of May, June, Honorable the Finance Minister, I'll be grateful if you can be a little attentive. Honorable the Finance Minister, you even know it? Can I seek your attention? It is very important. The Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, the report of month of May 2012 says out of 564 projects of 150 crores and above, only 3 are ahead of schedule. 133 are on schedule, 251 are delayed, and delays imply a cost overrun of 19.5%. Now this is happening. Now kindly see the index of industrial production. What is the position today? I am latest figure of June 2013. It is a contraction, a growth of minus 2.2%. You are in minus. Honorable, the LOP has always raised this issue. The level of capital good production is an important barometer of the extent of industrial development. What is that? Capital good production is contracted, had a growth of minus 6.6%. Indians are not investing in India. Foreigners are not investing in India. And the industrial production has come to this scenario. Honorable the Finance Minister, private sector is not investing in India. Now let me come to public investment. There is no public investment also. I would like to know where major investments have been made. I was going through your budget speech of the last year, and to bring down the fiscal deficit from 5.2%, Honorable Finance Minister, you took a cut of planned expenditure by 92,000. Is it right? Therefore, the situation has become so compelling that you were compelled to reduce planned expenditure by 92,000 crores. I don't know if private investment is not coming, Honorable the Finance Minister, if public investment is not coming, if Indians are not investing, if foreigners have a problem, how would the growth story of India shine? That is indeed a very important issue which I would like to highlight. What is the position of banks? I have been told, Honorable Finance Minister, I will be happy to be proved wrong, that 7 lakh crores of projects, about 5.5 crores in coal and 1.50 lakh crore in highway are locked up. Is it a fact or not? I would like to be told. What is the position of banks? I was reading the statement of Mr. Subba Rao, the RBI governor. In the last 2 years alone, the NPAs of top 10 public sector banks have doubled from rupees 70,000 crores to 1,40,000 crores. Therefore, top national banks are having this much of NPA. How much of load can you take? There is problem of current account deficit, there is problem of fiscal deficit, the FDI is drying up, the FII is running away. This is the level of NPAs of our own nationalized banks. Therefore, the entire state of economy is in a very critical condition. I don't know What magic wand do you have? You would like to know that. And if your magic wand could not operate for 4.5 years, Honorable the Finance Minister, how would it operate in the coming 5-6 months? We would like to be told very clearly and categorically. Two quick issues: unemployment and this poverty reduction. I know yesterday you have come with some notifications, raising up duties here and there, some cosmetic changes were made. When $60 billion worth gold have been imported, you have raised the duty. I don't know if it's going to impact the state of economy or not, I don't know. But in my very considered view, they are window dressing. They do not address the substance of the problem. But let me come to the whole unemployment issue. Today, Mr. Rudy was raising that question in a very eloquent way while he asked a supplementary. But Honorable the Labour Minister couldn't even understand that question. Now, NSS data is on record. Between 2000 to 2003, 82 lakh employment and self-employment opportunities were created on average each year. And only 4 lakh jobs were created during the UPA 1 regime, compared with 12 million annually during the NDA regime. It is not my statistics, it is the statistics of NSS data. In fact, according to NSS data, the employment rate has actually declined in the 5-year period ended on 2009-10 to 39.2% from 42% in 2004-5. Therefore, manufacturing is down, industrial production is down, export-import is down, unemployment is down. Only one thing is up, two things are up: price and deficit, current and fiscal both. This is the state of your economy. After all, we are very proud of our young population, but they are entitled to at least proper job opportunities. Your government has been talking about the Aam Aadmi's concern frequently. Now, what is the condition of Aam Aadmi? Whether it is price rise, whether it is a stable life, whether it is a life which is transparent regime, trust. Honorable the Finance Minister, I have not been a Marxist, but one expression has impressed me: crony capitalism. I don't know Marx ever realized that his crony capitalism would become an important figure and feature in the politics of Congress like UPA. Whether it is 2G, whether it is Colgate, whether it is Augusta Westland, whether it is so many others, Commonwealth, crony capitalism has come to rule. And why it has happened? I know you are a very experienced finance minister. I know you are a sincere, you have been a senior leader in the politics of the country. Why you all could not control? Which were the forces giving so much of freedom to these crony capitalists to completely play havoc with the system? Let me give you one example, and that is very important. Regardless of the 2G problem, when the GOM headed by you put 3G for spectrum for auction against a target of 35,000 crores, the government earned a profit of 67,000 crores. And the WLL, again you earn 30,000 crores. Therefore, 1 lakh crore of neat profit was made in the year 2009-10, when the 2G was there, when we were fighting here. But when the Supreme Court asked the 122 licenses to be de-auctioned, suddenly there was a ganging up. No. And your ministers were saying, come on, see, no return is coming about. I'm asking a question. If in the same atmosphere of gloom in the year 2010, if 3G spectrum can fetch you 1 lakh crore along with WLL, why is it after Supreme Court judgment there was a conscious attempt to ensure that whole auction fails? Because some lobby somewhere was ensuring that we have to have one-upmanship, that what we said was right. If that kind of justification is given for crony capitalism, I'm very sorry, Honorable the Finance Minister, the state of the economy will never go. The last issue I would like to highlight, that is the issue of poverty. Of late, too much in debate. What is the poverty line? Regardless of our party divide, Honorable the Finance Minister, we all work for the poor. In a democracy of the size and diversity of India, if a political party will not work for the poor, that party cannot survive, regardless of political or ideological divide. Now, what is the benchmark of poverty? You have the Tendulkar Committee, you have the Sengupta Committee, you have the Saxena Committee, we have the shameful, audacious affidavit in the Supreme Court of India that if a man earns 32 rupees in a town, he is below the poverty line. And if he earns 28 rupees in a village, he is above the poverty line. Nothing could be more shameful than that. Then we got a collusive report of Planning Commission कि हिंदुस्तान में गरीबी कम हो गई है. Then I saw there was a revulsion among all of us across the board. Suddenly we found that even people within your party started questioning you. Even ministers said Planning Commission is the wrong. And you have got a very loquacious General Secretary of your party, whose name I did not take. He has a problem with you in all the ministry. When you were in Home Ministry also, he had a problem with you on extremism. He had a problem with you on the Finance Ministry. What kind of policy is this? You are not able to decide? In our standing committee, we had occasion to examine the whole benchmark that the state should also be considered as to how they do with this benchmark of below the poverty line, above the poverty line. You are coming with this food bill. We'll have occasion to discuss that. Here you are saying garibi gir gayi hai. Wahan you are claiming you will give it 70% plus. Therefore, there is complete lack of clarity. This is what I try to highlight. Honorable the Finance Minister, I have to make a very humble appeal to you. We can differ on policy. लेकिन एक मेरा आपसे बहुत विनम्र आग्रह है, मैं हिंदी में बोल रहा हूं, गरीबों के साथ उनकी गरीबी का मजाक करना हम बंद करें. Let us all stop. Let us all stop. I am translating it for you. Let us stop playing joke with the plight and misery of the poor. Come on. We are being told this is the 1 point drop in the wholesale price index. We don't take into account consumer price index. I think we can go to the footpath of Delhi and we can know the plight of the people as to how much inflation is causing a havoc. The same is the poverty line. I think it is very important, at least now, and we would like to hear from you in your reply, because the state of economy and the plight of poverty both are linked. So what is the final benchmark of your government as far as the benchmark of poverty line is concerned? Do you agree with the assessment of Planning Commission? Or there is lack of clarity because the measurement of Planning Commission is on Tendulkar report. And there was the assurance in this house that we have set up Rangarajan Commission, which is going to revisit the entire benchmark. If there was a commitment by the government, how could, based upon old benchmark, which is very vulnerable and debatable, this whole figure has been arrived at? I would also like to know from you, these are my very specific queries. How much foreign investment have you got? Both in terms of FDI and both in terms of FII. The second issue I would like to know, Honorable the Finance Minister, I have got the figures. I'll wait for a response. What is the percentage of Indian economy constituted by the foreign source, FII and FDI included? And what is the percentage of Indian economy based upon domestic investment, that is by Indian investment? This clarity would like to know depending upon the size of economy. I'm sure when you will give the reply would be very difficult. When you give the reply, it will present a not a very happy picture. But I'll await for your response. What is my concluding take, Honorable the Finance Minister? Sir, I'm grateful you gave me so much time. I'm concluding just 5 minutes time. Whenever we talk of economy, you say external factors. दुनिया में बहुत खराबी आ गई, तो क्या करें? अगर आपकी इजाजत हो तो एक शेर पढ़ने की इच्छा होती है दुष्यंत कुमार की. कहा तो कहा था चरागा हर एक घर के लिए. कहा तो कहा था चरागा हर एक घर के लिए, कहां चराग मयस्सर नहीं शहर के लिए. You had promised the moon for the entire town, for all the residents of town, all the household. Today, even Tim power is not available for the city itself. Forget the houses. Tim power. Honorable the Finance Minister, sir, with your kind guidance, what I am trying to highlight. Yes, I can understand, maybe because of certain foreign factors, some problems can come in some limited areas. But how does foreign factor come to have a problem as far as decline in infrastructure development is concerned? How does the global factor come as far as financial recklessness is concerned? How does the global factor come to have an intervention as far as corruption is concerned? I don't think you can attribute them to any global factor at all. How does the foreign factor come to have a play as far as policy paralysis is concerned? And how does the foreign factor come to have a play as far as lack of trust, lack of credibility of decision making is concerned? Those are domestic problems. Those are your own problems. These problems have not been addressed. And I remember the former finance minister, obviously now he's the President of India, we have the highest regard for him, but his statement in this house, he quoted Indira Gandhi that our banking system has been so stable that it was unaffected by global scenario when the subprime crisis happened. So at one point you tom your financial apparatus, and then you have a problem, you say everything is dependable because of global factors. Deputy Chairman साहब, हिंदी में एक कहावत है, मीठा मीठा गड़प, कड़वा कड़वा थू, ये तो नहीं चलेगा. You have to be honest about it. The reason is very simple, Honorable Chairman. The reason is you have ill-treated India's economy. The reason is you have shabbily treated the Aam Aadmi. The reason is you have ushered in an era of gross mismanagement of Indian economy. The reason is there is lack of leadership, transparency, integrity and commitment as far as decision making is concerned. If that is the treatment you have given to Indian economy, if that is the shabby treatment you have given to the people of India, I can only say the people of India are waiting for the final treatment to be given to them whenever elections take place. That will be the final response. I'm extremely grateful, sir, for giving me this chance.